Hola, hello, bienvenidos. An immersive experience in the virtual 3D VirBELA environment for leadership development in undergraduate students during the COVID-19 quarantine.
Carlos Eduardo Mora Beltrán, Alix Rojas and Camilo Mejía Moncayo. Bogotá, Colombia.
Leadership is an essential soft skill in any professional today. However, its development can be a significant challenge in traditional classes focused on disciplinary competencies. In this sense, the use of an immersive 3D virtual environment can be an advantage for leadership development, since it can facilitate communication and interaction between the participants, thanks to overcoming fear associated with face-to-face interaction. In this regard, this work exposes a leadership activity developed in VirBELA, explaining their designing, developing, and evaluating processes. The results obtained show that this activity under the participants' perception was facilitating the interaction of the participants among themselves and with the professor and improve the learning process in different ways. This process was carried out during quarantine due to COVID-19. By 2007, immersive virtual environments were defined as a three-dimensional space, real or imaginary, generated by a computer, which a person can interact with. These kinds of environments produce the sensation of being inside a place, since virtual reality is made up of objects and situations that recreate a complete sensory experience in an artificial setting. Initially, its use was focused on video games due to the way they visualize, manipulate, and interact on the computer, and this was rapidly spread to other fields such as education, medicine, industry, among many others. Different studies have verified that the use of virtual immersive and collaborative environments generate a 50% retention rate in the student and a significant percentage of improvement in learning. Educational institutions worldwide have implemented this type of virtual technology in their classes, intending to improve student performance and stimulate meaningful learning. According to the study promoted by the Institute of Technological Perspective of the European Union, the involvement of new technologies in training processes is essential for the development of 21st century skills, including leadership. In this regard, it is evident that among the weaknesses that new professionals present are the difficulties related to the development of emotional intelligence, among these the lack of ability to join work groups and company policies, the lack of proactivity and guidance to action, little commitment, and little sense of processes. Now, organizations are forced to rethink processes related to production, business structure, and job functions to be more competitive in an increasing world globalized. Methodology. The process carried out was structured within the framework of leadership mediated by experience in the immersive virtual 3D environment. It was defined into 3 phases for the development of the whole pedagogical action. The first one consisted of the evaluation of 3 virtual worlds through the exploration and, after that, the selection of one, from specific criteria. The second phase structured the activity pedagogically to achieve the learning objectives, considering the advantages and restrictions of the virtual world. And the last stage is about the evaluation of the participants' perception of the process was carried out. First phase. The first phase began with the exploration of 3 virtual worlds: Second Life, Sansar, and VirBELA, which are described below. Second Life SL. SL is a virtual world inspired by Neil Stephenson's science fiction novel Snow Crash. In Neil's book, a concept called metaverse appeared that described a virtual world in which people could interact, play, do business, and all kinds of communications. In this virtual universe, the important thing was status. The status was valued with 2 elements that SL has perpetuated: the possibility of accessing exclusive sites and technical training, often focused on the spectacular nature of the virtual appearance. VirBELA. It is the first virtual 3D university campus in the world. This amazing world will help you take a complete tour of the software and its virtual 3D technology. VirBELA generally brings students and companies together in a whole new 3D world and connects them all for expert collaboration. Whether it is a small group of globally distributed digital nomads or side by side, the VirBELA Open Campus is the perfect place to host online events or create a cloud-based business and rejoice forever. VirBELA is completely free and is home to a community of independent innovators, on a global scale. You will also learn how to create a 3D character within VirBELA to use before starting the educational adventure, learn about team suites, and go through other functions and features in VirBELA, including public chat, private bubbles, resolution, or window display settings, among other things. Second phase. The second phase defines and executes a three-stage learning activity focused on the development of leadership in the virtual world. The first stage focused on identifying the characteristics of an effective leader. The second introduced the different theoretical approaches to leadership and the 5 main leadership strategies, ending with the third stage in which the participants identified their leadership style and personality. Each step had its learning objectives, which are described below. First stage, 1. Identify the characteristics of an effective leader, and 2. Recognize the personal and leadership style of a person. Second stage, 1. Identify the skills of a leader, 2. Identify 5 leadership strategies, 3. Identify the 11 leadership principles, and 4. Identify the 4 factors that influence leadership. And third stage, 1. Identify your style among the different categories. The process described in Figure 4 begins with the characterization of the students, identifying the students' limitations in activity development. Then, were explained the activity objectives, game rules, and educational strategies to be implemented. Next, leadership activity starts, in which were presented the leadership skills and 11 principles, and the 4 factors that influence it. Finally, a self-diagnosis is made, which allows us to review your knowledge about the information explained. Third phase. The third phase focused on the evaluation of the developed process, for which 2 questionnaires were developed that were closely related to the objectives set and focused on the selected population. This study included a sample of students in training selected for convenience due to the accessibility and availability of the participants to carry out an exploratory study who are taking technological training programs in the administrative area. The research had the informed consent of the participants. The final sample size is marked by 84 valid questionnaires completed for the first survey and 51 valid questionnaires for the final evaluation of the workshop. Of the total questionnaires, 135, 82.4% were women and 17.6% men. Results. The execution of the activity began with a characterization of the technological resources of the participants to identify technical limitations that could affect the subsequent steps. In this sense, the participants have 79.8% access to smartphones, 58.3% to laptops, 29.8% to desktop, and 7.1% to tablets. However, only 63.1% have the internet on their cell phones, and 86.9% have the internet at home. Regarding the impact of leadership activity on their training, the perception of the participants was, it increases their level of knowledge, 95.5%, it gives them professional value, 90.9%, it presents exciting content, 90.9%, it allows them to develop in a virtual environment, 90.9%, it facilitates relationships with peers, 90.9%, it improves the relationship with the teacher, 90.9%. It should be noted that in global assessment, there was significant interest and positive perception of the activities, so, it exists the potential of engaging people through this technology. Discussion. As it was evident, the participants have greater access to smartphones, laptops, and desktops, with internet access. However, the quality and continuity of the service represent a limitation for the massive implementation of this type of activity. It is essential to highlight that the majority of the use that participants give to their technological devices is for entertainment, and to a lesser extent, like academic support. Besides, laptops and desktops are mainly used for work and academic support at the same percentage. And as expected, these teams are available for frequent use of social networks. It was interesting to see that the participants met their expectations thanks to the characteristics of the VirBELA 3D immersive virtual world, which allowed them to gain access to more information. It made group work easier for them. Promote new relationships between teacher and student. Motivate learning. Facilitate the recall of information and reinforce the contents. Facilitate the transfer of knowledge. Offer a better presentation of the contents. Create or modify new attitudes. Facilitate self-learning and individualized teaching. Demonstrate and simulate experiences. Clarify abstract concepts. And as a global assessment of the workshop, a high interest in the activity, its quality, the high level of acquired attitudes, the great possibilities of applying what was learned, and the high level of knowledge acquired was evident. Conclusions. The virtual platforms comparison carried out between Second Life, Sansar, and VirBELA, showed that the characteristics of the latter are more convenient for the development of training processes, which contributed to the successful development of the activity. However, bad internet connection and poor technological capacities of devices still represent a barrier to the massification and use of virtual environments in education in Colombia. Finally, thanks to the extensive use of information and communication technologies in education because of the global crisis caused by the pandemic due to the COVID-19 virus, a window of opportunity opens for the massive implementation of virtual 3D immersive virtual environments. Also, this technology will allow social interactions that at this juncture are not possible, but that are indispensable in the training processes. Muchas gracias, thank you. Muchos éxitos. Many successes. Goodbye.